Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our fifth webinar this morning on this cold and chilly autumn morning. Hopefully, you're all braving the cold weather out there, and winter has certainly hit. Thanks for tuning in for the webinar on our insights into question 3 marketing for the RACV Victorian Tourism Awards. Those of you who haven't joined us before, my name is Chris, and managing the program at the moment for VTIC. Joining me this morning is our very special guest, Polly. Welcome, Polly, and thank you for joining us this morning. It's great to have Polly here. She's got a wealth of experience in relation to the Tourism Awards as a writer and as a submission entrant. So wealth of experience that she can present for you guys today. So welcome, Polly. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you've been involved with the awards.
Well, thanks, Chris. So I started my tourism journey about 19 years ago, and worked in a number of backpackers. And about 12 years ago, I moved into marketing, where I worked for a company called Bunyip Tours. And I was there for about 12 years, and we really grew the company started off with 4 vehicles, and up now, when I left, it was 15 vehicles and 4 different destinations to about 20 different products in the end. And during that time, that's where I really delved into the Tourism Awards. So we first entered in 2008 and went on to win the Hall of Fame in 2010. So that was in the tour and transport category. And then we took a few years off, and back in 2017, we then re-entered the Tourism Awards, but entered as the major tour and transport operator. Won gold that year, and then in 2018, we won silver. So it's been a really exciting journey. Earlier this year, I started work for a new venture called Explore Australia Tours, which is operated by Sea Road Ferries. We are launching new small group touring into destinations that are a little bit off the beaten track. And I also run a company called Leisure and Tourism Solutions, which is a consulting company. So pretty busy.
Yeah, fantastic. But also wealth of experience that you can impart to people today and those who watch this later on is one of the more important questions when it comes to the award submission as well in terms of marketing. There have been a couple of changes, and we're going to go through those shortly. But as you'll see with most of the webinars that we kick off, I generally just start off with this slide here to sort of show you what the portal looks like, so you give you an idea of where you need to be for answering the marketing question. But the question's now a 5-part question across majority of the categories. So there was a decision made at the national level to allocate an extra 5 points to this category. The 5 points, the submission in total is still out of 100, but they've taken 5 points out of the sustainability question, which we're going to be discussing next week, and actually allocated to the marketing question. So it's now a 5-part question, and as I said, worth those additional 5 points. What does that mean from an entrance perspective? It actually doesn't really change the questions up that much, and we'll get through to this when we get part down or get a bit deeper into discussing this question. But basically, they've split question D into 2 parts. So we'll cover that off in a moment. But it doesn't affect all the categories. As I said there, excellence in food tourism, our new category, excellence in accessible tourism, destination marketing question, local government award for tourism, and the tourism education and training category. They're all not affected by this change, and so the marketing question is still worth 20 points in those categories. So just be mindful of that if you are thinking about entering one of those categories. Question sets are relatively similar, but they just haven't had that change for certain reasons. The festival and events categories, there's no change to the question. So this was already a 5-part question for those categories, but there has been an additional 5 marks added. So basically I suppose the mark split has changed across this question set. So this question is out of 25 for majority of the categories. So this marketing question seeks to determine how well you know and understand your customers, and in turn how you target your efforts and actually go out and actually market your business. So you need to consider and think about all forms of your marketing, like sales, word of mouth, PR, advertising. But Polly, do you need to have a marketing degree to answer this question?
No, not at all, Chris. I think most businesses will be doing this instinctively, but you also need to show the judges that you have a clear plan and you can support it with evidence and not just go by the vibe. So I always found with the marketing question, it really allowed us to dig deep into the data, as well as looking at, as well as researching through Tourism Australia and the Visit Vic portals. Working in the business day to day, you can answer many of the marketing questions anecdotally, but you really need to back it up with data in your submission. So I believe that most days businesses will be capturing this information through their booking systems, asking questions like countries of origin, if you ask their age range and things like that and how they've booked. And then it really comes down to breaking all this information down. And so for us, one of the outcomes of participating in the awards process, it really highlighted our strengths, but it also highlighted weaknesses as well, which is a really good way to help improve things for your business. So the first year that we entered, we realized that we didn't collect enough data, and it really helped us put things in place so we could start collecting this data, which not only helps with the awards, but also helps with your marketing plan for the future years.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of it is you might be as an entrant sitting there going, oh, I actually don't have a marketing plan. Well, this can actually be part of the process to help you developing up this marketing plan to make your, the business that you are running better, and the processes behind your business is a lot stronger as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And the other key thing that I think I picked up what you probably said was the amount of research that actually is available and out there and free for you to engage with, both at a state and a national level. So, make sure you jump onto the relevant websites, whether it's through Tourism Research Australia or through Visit Victoria or through the State Government Department, Tourism Events and Visitor Economy branch. There's heaps of research out there that you can actually be using to help bolster your submission. So go out and look for that data and find that data. And, this is where you really need to show those measures. But going into the questions, and we'll start off obviously with question A, who are your target markets? As the tip says here, this question seeks to understand who you have aimed your marketing towards. Consider, for example, who they are, where they are from, how old they are, how they purchase travel, what motivates and inspires them, and how your product meets their expectations. So, Polly, so this question is looking at segmentation and how you break down your target markets. What does this mean exactly?
So it's really dividing your broad target markets into subsets. So for example, when I was at Bunyip Tours and we did our tourism awards, we would look at where our customers were traveling from, and then we could break this down into subsets such as visiting friends and family, your VFR, your groups, your adventure travelers, your experience seekers. And we also, at that time, were operating the Chadstone shuttle, so we also had visitors that were here for fashion and shopping. Also with these are the insights that we collected from data, but also anecdotally through our teams, like talking to our tour guides and our reservation staff, they could also, because they're seeing our customers day to day, so they could also give us further insights onto where they were coming from. Also graphically and demographically, so most of this information we gathered through data collected at the time of booking, country of origin, how they booked, but we'd also cross-reference this with profiling from the marketing through TA. They have a really good research piece called the Consumer Demand Project. So that profiles consumers from different markets, and it's what inspires them to travel, how they travel. So it's really good to try and match what your customers are doing with this different data as well.
Yeah, and there's also the stuff that even your local tourism associations or your regional tourism boards are doing as well that you can have access to, and sort of see who are they attracting into the region as well. So there is plenty of information out there, and we do have a couple of examples, and one's from Polly's submission from last year. But I suppose what is the best way of, before we move on to that, is what is the best way of laying out this question or answer?
Yeah, so you can use pie charts or tables as well. So for us, we'd use the pie charts to highlight our, to break down our demographics of countries of origin, so for our international market, and then we'd also break down for our domestic market state by state. The table can be used for, we use the table for our target market, so we generally have 3 columns. The first column would be your subset, the target market, for example, the fashion and shopping, VFR, adventure travellers. In the second column, it would give the breakdown, whether they are international, domestic, and the percentage of breakdown. And the third column would be your, we would include the profile of the target market. So as you can see, fashion and shopping, it's visitors aged 20 to 60 years, families, etc. And then underneath that, we would include what our appeal would be. So for an adventure traveller, we offer flexible itineraries, and we do regional overnight stays, which resonates really well with adventure travellers. And so it's a really good way to set out your submission and really match what your target market is and how it appeals to how your product appeals to them.
Yeah, and so I suppose it's hard to sort of show exactly how this was totally laid out, but when I was reviewing this, Polly had a couple of pie charts above this table to sort of show the breakdown of visitation and things like that, and those target markets. So pie charts can be used and graphs can be used, and they really just help to tell the story. Be mindful though, they do count as one of your images as well, so be mindful how you use them and be strategic around how you use them. But really they can really help to reinforce your answer and help tell your story. Just got another.
Also fit text inside the graphs as well as part of the image, so you can be quite strategic with that
creative,
as well.
but be mindful though, don't put slabs of text into images, which we have seen. So be mindful around that. But the general rule of thumb, and I think I've said this before, is that the judges need to be able to find the answers to the question without the image there. So if they take the image out, they still need to be able to get the answer. The image or the pie chart is really just there to reinforce your answer. Just another example again from our friends over at Cave Hill Creek, and a big shout out to them again for allowing us to show off their presentation. They said they won the national award at the for standard accommodation last year, so really great work. But again, similar kind of layout in terms of having the comments of who the target markets are, why they're considering them, who they are, and how they actually go about it. And so they look at schools, they look at special interest groups, and as you can see, what I've done there is just blanked out any real data that's there, so they can keep that privacy being said. They've also incorporated images to sort of reinforce the message about who their target market is, really highlight the point of who they're actually going for and who they actually know. So again, be creative around how you actually use your images and show off who your target markets actually are. So part B, again, another five-point question. So you said each part of these question 3 is all worth 5 points, but how do you know your product service meets the needs of your target market? So this question is all about explaining the research you use and why. So Polly, what are the key areas an entrant should be considering within their business when answering this question?
Okay, so there's a number of things that you can do to look at this. So we would always look at TripAdvisor, satisfaction rating, social media. And it's about collating all your reviews during that qualifying period. So I sort of, it sort of helped us to record this all during the year, so we could have a snapshot every month as we went through and see how we were tracking. Feedback forms is another good way. Some people might have forms that guides or your accommodation handout, or they might be an iPad, or you could do a survey after they've travelled. If you don't have this set up yet, it's not too late. You can just start by, because there's still quite a bit of time before the end of the qualifying period, so you can set up a SurveyMonkey now and start surveying your guests so you know how your product stands up. Emails, letters, try and keep everything together so when you're doing your submission, you can find everything quite easily. Customer satisfaction and destination research, so the stats that you collect, such as country of origin and how they've booked, whether it's been through an OTA, direct, through Google AdWords or anything like that, are an invaluable piece of tool. And as I mentioned earlier, we also headed over to the Tourism Australia website And as Chris mentioned, the state websites as well have lots of information that you can delve into. And we used the Consumer Demand Project quite a bit. So you've also got direct feedback from agents. What I would do as well, if I had a new product that I was releasing, I would, at a trade event such as ATE, I would survey all the agents I'd met and ask them a question whether the product that I was launching would be something that their visitors or their clients would want to book. If you're not going to a trade show, you can do something. You can also do this by sending a survey to your agents, so you can really gain that feedback of if your product is suiting the needs of their clients. Google Analytics is another great way that you can track website statistics, and also through Facebook Insights, because it tracks their engagements and demographics. So they're also a really great tool to use as well. Yeah, so
cool. Just a couple of quick things that sort of probably highlighted as well around the qualifying period. Yep, there's still another month to go on the qualifying period. So again, the sooner you start, or the sooner you understand the requirements of the questions that have been asked throughout the submission, there is stuff you can start to implement now within your business to help to bolster up what your answers are. So go through, have a look. What are you lacking? What can you do quickly within the month to actually add value back into your submission? Also important here as well around the target markets you have identified. Don't start talking about new target markets at this point in time. You've outlined your target markets within question or part A. So really identify how your product meets the ones you've already identified. There we have seen examples in the past that people start talking about other things which they haven't mentioned within question part A. So be mindful of that. And again, always a great way of when writing submissions and planning your submissions is, have a Tourism Awards folder and just copy as much stuff into there as you possibly can. And so then it is all in one useful, handy spot that you can refer back to and engage with when you are actually pulling your submission together. You can also use quotes, sort of talk about feedback and word of mouth things, what are the quotes and things that you can include to reinforce your answers. So again, this is just an example from Polly's submission last year. So Polly, just want to quickly just have a quick how you've laid this out and how you've gone about answering it.
Yeah, so here we would just, by answering the question, we would say how we found out this information, and that was from feedback from also trade and media as well. So we would talk to not only our agents, but also to regional tour operators as well, and what they were doing. We'd also we consistently monitor our customer reviews. So we'd send out surveys and after customers had traveled, and then we'd also do bulk surveys a couple of times a year that would ask more in-depth questions as well. Research, and as you can see in our submission as well, we would talk about what we did and where we found the different answers from our feedback, what was the percentage of positive feedback, and also as I mentioned before, I questioned all our agents at ATE, and so from there I could also give a percentage of whether or not the new products would meet their needs. So it's really backing up different things that you've said throughout the question.
We do have a question that's come through from Amy. The Cave Hill Creek, sorry, just going to open that up. The Cave Hill Creek example included school groups as a target market. To what extent can we discuss our education programs in the submission? Are these included as part of the tourist market? Most definitely, they are a large part of the visitor economy in general. I think you got to think wider than just the leisure tourist, which not all businesses are set up for, like the likes of Cave Hill Creek. They have different target markets. They also do the wedding market and things like that. So these are all specific sectors for the visitor economy, the wider tourism industry. So don't get, I suppose, bogged down by the direct definition of what a tourist is. Think about it from a visitor perspective and why they're coming to your venue and how you then market to that particular sector. So it could be corporate travel groups, it could be as I said, the wedding market, school group sector. So these are all valuable people that are actually coming into your venue and into your establishments.
Most definitely, like even the international student market, although they're studying here for a year or two, they also then become a visitor to the state and to different regions.
So I hope that's answered your question, Amy, and thank you for shouting that one out. And if anyone else has any others, please do ask. Question part C, what are your unique selling points, and demonstrate how you communicate these to your target market. So it's important to know that this is a two-part question. So unique selling point, you need what are they, and then demonstrate how you communicate these. So look at how you are answering this question and make sure you answer both parts, because if you only answer half of it, you're only ever going to achieve 2.5 points for this question. So be mindful of that. This may be a really easy question for some businesses who are actually, do have a lot of innovation and, do have a lot of unique selling points and things. So, especially if you're a standalone product and you're the only one of the kind offering that in Victoria, it's quite easy. But for maybe an accommodation provider or a tour operator, you might be running tours down to the Great Ocean Road and there's 4 other businesses doing it. What's your unique selling point and how do you show that? So Polly, how would you show your USP?
Yeah, that's right, Chris. Like for us as a tour operator, there's many competitors, but it's really looking at your product, even though you might have a similar product to your competitor, but really looking at what you offer that's different. So that could be your service, your booking system. It could be that you visited a attraction or location that your competitors don't go to, or what your inclusions are in your tour, or the value adds that you do add into the tour. So we would do this via a table as well. So we would set out who
there you go.
Oh yeah, sorry. So we would the top example is for all our markets. So we would set out our USP that resonates with all the markets, and we would use 2 columns. So the first column would have the unique selling point for that particular market, and the second part of the table, the second column in the table, will be how we communicate this. So the message that we'd show through all our marketing, and what different promotional tools we'd use, or how we communicate that. So that was our general one, and then we'd break it down further. So if you looked at our submission below this, would be other tables, and we'd break it down to what we set out in our earlier questions, which were our adventure travellers, our visiting friends and relatives, our fashion and shopping visitors, and we would then put examples. So for example, our adventure traveller, we would say we offer great value. We give examples of that, and it might be that we would offer a tour that visits these locations, and we charge X amount of dollars in comparison to our competitor who might charge a little bit more. And then on the other side, we put our communications, our message, and the promotional tools that we use to do this.
Yeah, another good way as well is really the use of examples here. So you can, if you're using some particular marketing collateral that you're using, take a snapshot of it and include it within your submission. But then also remember that you do have a site visit as part of the judging process. So this is your opportunity again to really highlight the way you are communicating. So the judges, when they do come out, they want to see your marketing collateral. They want to see how you're talking about your USPs and things. And they're the kind of things that they'll be looking for to really not justify, but back up what you're saying within your submission. So make sure you are displaying those things, and talking about site visits and things like that. Everything you talk about within your submission, make sure you put a copy of it aside and make it available so that you can have it there for the judges when they come to view. I know some people talk about having competitor analysis within this question as well. So, Polly, do you think that's worthwhile in putting in if you've got the space and the time to do so?
Yes, most definitely. I think it's really valuable as well to so you can back up all these statements, and what you say you can prove. So I would always start by doing a competitor analysis and looking at my direct competitors and what tours they're offering, and cross-referencing the touring itineraries. So then throughout your table, you can make statements such as, we're the only tour operator offering this, or you know, we have more inclusions, and you can prove that through competitor analysis. So obviously you don't have to write your direct competitor's name, but you can highlight these sorts of things throughout the table.
Yeah, fantastic. And I'm going to cover off these final two questions as or final two parts of this question on the one slide, because as I said at the top, they were the one question last year and they've split them out. So effectively describe the innovative marketing strategies you have implemented to encourage new and or repeat business. Last year, this just continued on to read and demonstrate the success of the initiative outlined. So the example we're going to be showing is obviously an example for last year, so it includes it all in one. So basically what you need to do is you know, describe what the innovative marketing strategies are as part of part D, and then E will be where you put the table in and actually then put in okay, so we've done X and what this has done for this is how it's been successful. So it's sort of encapsulated within our example here, but you know, so what I suppose the innovations is what have you done differently to attract customers and visitors. Some businesses can struggle in thinking about how they have innovated their marketing. So remember, this is innovations in marketing. It's separate to question 2 when they're asking innovation in your business and your business planning. So really think about that. So Polly, have you got some examples of innovations that you've seen implemented in the business's marketing that could be discussed here?
Yeah, so I'm talking for over a long time for Bunyip Tours, but one of the things was when we first took over in 2007, we wrapped all our buses with the destinations that we were visiting. So for us, it was a moving billboard through that people could see where we were traveling. It worked really well for our neighbours tours, so people would see the neighbours tours and they would call us or look online. But then when we launched Tours to the Mornington Peninsula, we branded a bus for the Mornington Peninsula with hot springs, strawberry picking, all the amazing things that you could do there. And we would use this bus in other destinations such as the Great Ocean Road. So this bus would be parked at the 12 Apostles car park with many different visitors coming in. People were looking and thinking, oh, wow, where's that? I want to go there. So not using it in the destination that we're going to, but promoting it in other destinations. So that worked really well for us. Obviously, that's quite a difficult thing to track and give examples of how much business you get from it, but it did work well for us. Early on, we did recognise for us that the China market was growing, and we wanted to, and we knew that we had that getting our message across, there was difficulties with language barriers and cultures. So we, at that time, we decided to hire a full-time marketing executive as we knew how important the market was, but we really wanted to get our message across to that market and really let them know that we were offering an authentic Australian experience, and that really helped to grow our sales in the China market, so we could really showcase our previous year's sales to the following year's sales and the growth year after year. Another thing that we'd also do is we worked with a university with their, we'd offered to provide 2 large charter tours each year, and that was for the intake of the international students, so in February and in July. And that gave us a really good opportunity to promote to these students who would be staying in Australia for 6 months a year to 4 years. Our brand, firstly brand awareness, but also when they wanted to, as we know, students that stay here for a while, they'll take mini breaks and choose us, but also for their visiting friends and family. So we would, through these tours, we would collect their data, and then we would do e-marketing to them, offering them discounts, which we could then track through promo codes through our booking system. Another thing that we did as well, we offered value-added packages. So really encouraging visitors to book 2 tours with Bunyip, and then we would offer them some free attractions to Melbourne. So encouraging more than 1 booking, and also length of stay, and encouraging length of stay, and to explore more of Melbourne and Victoria as well.
So you got to think of this question as well. It's innovative for your business.
Yeah,
exactly. So it's not innovative for the tourism industry. You don't need to go down and create whole new things. It's what you haven't done in the past. It's innovative for your business. It's actually generating great outcomes for your business. So just keep that in the back of your mind when thinking about this question. But overall, the marketing question is now worth 25 points. So be mindful of that as well when you are answering that. There needs to be a bit more credit given to the marketing question this year because it does have a bigger weight given to it overall. We do have an example from Polly last year. So you're probably going to need to think about how you lay this out this year from a, how you answer the question, because it is now split. But obviously, Polly, your table worked well last year and probably will work well again this year.
Yeah, just splitting it up differently, I think. Yeah.
As long as it's nice and clear so that judges can actually see the answer clearly and not having to sway through mountains of text to find exactly what you're saying. So keep that in mind, because, judges, read 12, 13, 14 submissions each, and they generally spend about 2 hours on each submission. And so if you're clear and concise with your answers throughout your entire submission, then you'll generally find that you will do well if you are answering the questions nicely at the same time. So that's it, folks. That's the deep dive really into question 3. Hope you've all found that worthwhile, and I think Polly's given some great tips and from her experience in terms of what she's done from that marketing experience with this question. Be reminded we have one more webinar to go in our webinar series. So next week, 10:30, we're back here again. We're looking at question 4 and 5 next time. So we're looking at customer service and the sustainability question. So we'll go into a bit more detail into that. So if you want to get a bit more information on that one, log on to the Tourism Awards website and register for that webinar. That'll be a great one. We're doing that one with one of our judges from last year, Alicia Brandenburg, is coming along to help us out with that question, and she's going to have a bit more of a slant as well on the sustainability side of things, because she sits on the board of Ecotourism Australia, so really great to have her involved next week for that question. We also do have our 2 workshops still to run out in regional Victoria, so we'll be out at RACV Goldfields on Monday next week, and then out to RACV Hillsville on the 5th of June. So great workshops that we're running. Come out, meet myself, and actually learn a bit more about the awards, but also the work that Denise Albrook is doing at the state government, the Tourism Events and Visitor Economy branch there. As we always say at each of these, it is there's plenty of support out there for entrants as well. So if you're just tuning in for the first one, we have the project officer support for first-time entrants with the regional tourism boards, mentor support through our volunteer mentor program. So we've got a great panel of support that will be able there to assist you in getting your submissions done. So utilize that support, keep in touch with the VTIC team, and we really want to make sure that you guys have all the resources behind you to be able to complete a winning submission. And I suppose probably just one more final question from me. I think you touched on a little bit at the very beginning, but the benefits from your perspective as a entrant, as going through this process. You've got gold, you've got silver in the past. It's not always about just winning the award, is it?
Oh no, not at all, Chris. I think the benefit for us was really being able to implement changes into our business that would help us build a better quality offering as well. So because you're looking more at what your customers saying about you, looking at your statistics as well, so where you're getting your customers from. So if you're marketing, you can really target those markets where people are coming from. And for us as well, it was also about the team. So we involved the whole team as well to get their feedback as well. It's not just for us, it wasn't just a one-person job, but it really helped our team come together and build a better business. So on your strengths, and then also with your weaknesses, being able to make amendments for things that you could find you had weaknesses with.
Fantastic. Yeah. So thank you, everyone. Finally, just like to thank RACV for their ongoing support of the Tourism Awards, our principal partner, Visit Victoria, and also the great team here at Webfirm, who have been helping us out with our webinars throughout the duration. So the team here do a great job. So big shout out to those guys as well. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in this afternoon. This will be has been recorded and will be made live. So if you want to come back and check it all out again and review any points, you can do that at a later date. But hopefully we'll catch you at the next webinar, and good luck with your submission over the next week.
Thanks.